Good
Hello.
afternoon, everyone. Welcome
What
to
we
another
got?
episode here at Cocktails and Crimes.
We've
I
got some comments already on here. Brittany
Hi.
Ayala.
Um well, we're gonna do part three
Hey.
of Christian Andreacchio out of Meridian, Mississippi. We've been talking about it the last few weeks, and this week we're gonna kind of dive into like the lack of interest by law enforcement, and then kind of get into what the reports that were given to the family from the outside, and like the sketchiness of the situation and the evidence that was actually found by the Andreacchio's team. So it's gonna be a pretty ball busting episode. And just like every other week, we're gonna start off with a cocktail. And I feel
Yay.
like for whatever reason, this drink just seemed appropriate. So I'm gonna over here. We're gonna kick off. We're gonna have a little bit of a royal flush. For anyone at home that would like to make one while they sit back and sip and listen to us talk about this, it's gonna be Crown Royal whiskey, cranberry juice, and peach schnapps, um,
Hmm.
with a little sweet and sour or simple syrup. I use 100% unsweetened cranberry juice. You get all the sweetened stuff, and it's
Mm.
absolutely just overpowering. Um,
Yeah, too
you're just
much.
gonna want to exactly, and you're just gonna want 1 ounce of peach schnapps, 2 ounces of whiskey, 1.5 ounces of unsweetened cranberry juice, 1 teaspoon of simple syrup. You can top it with Sprite if that's your thing. I like it topped with Sprite. I actually topped mine with Sprite.
Yeah. I think
Uh,
that's a good
serve over
fizz to
ice.
it.
Serve over ice and sit back and enjoy. Super refreshing. And with this 120-degree uh, heat index we've got going on, we need something refreshing,
Yep. Yep.
especially because we're everywhere around me is raining and we're not. So we're
So
gonna
we got
we're gonna
another
need some
comment
cold.
there. So they're drinking Dr. Pepper because they're in their semi. Dr. Pepper
Well,
is good too, though. Yeah.
it is. It is. It
Mhm.
makes us good.
So, yeah, I mean, I think our drinks are great. We always love them every week. Nikki comes up with the most refreshing. But if that's not your thing, you can now buy us a
You
cocktail.
can buy us, you can buy us a
You just
cocktail. You can buy us.
scan that QR code and send us some cocktail money, so we can
Mhm.
go out and
And believe
cocktail
it,
it up.
look, and believe me, after we do all these big heavy cases,
We
we
need some
definitely
cocktails.
we
Hmm.
we definitely need ones that we don't have to make.
Yeah, right. So whether
Um,
it's during the live right now or you watch this later in a replay, all you have to do is scan that QR code and it'll take you to where you can send cocktail money. So, and we'll flash
and
that
for
a couple
anyone
times.
exactly, and for anyone who you know, doesn't really drink and
Mhm.
wants to buy us a cocktail, I promise you I'll send you a picture of us drinking
There you go.
whatever you want
Donate.
us to drink. I
Yep.
promise.
You got another
Um,
comment there.
so anyways, we're gonna move on and go on and jump into this one. So everybody sip back, and we've got the cocktails covered, but let's get into the crime.
Hmm.
Now we've covered and we've talked about just this ignorance of the Meridian Police Department in Lauderdale County. But man, when you really jump into like the lack of interest, so for anyone who is new here and doesn't really know what's going on, Christian Andreacchio is 21 years old. And the police ruled his mysterious death a suicide after less than a 45-minute investigation. Although Christian was right handed and the gun was wedged between his left thigh and the outside and in the tub. So you can go back and go to anywhere that you can listen to a podcast and you can catch up on the Christian Andreacchio case and understand why we're diving into part three of it. this did happen, right at 10 years ago. So there's a lot of information to cover. There's a lot of information that's been gained in those almost 10 years.
Mhm.
But tonight I really want to dive into the lack of interest and kind of move from there over to what the Andreacchio's team ends up finding on their own and why once again is nothing being done. So
Mm.
we're gonna go all the way back to um 3 weeks after Christian's death. Okay. The Andreacchios have tried to talk to Detective Wilburn, Demarcus Wilburn. He was the detective over Christian's case. And
Mm.
basically, from what I've gathered in all the interviews, Ray basically called. I mean, Ray and Todd just called nonstop, leaving voicemail.
Right.
And he never returned a single phone call to these people. And then even now, to this day, as it stands, they've never spoken to
Mm-mm.
this man who is this detective, okay, has never spoken to this individual. Um, so they made an appointment with the chief of police, James Lee, 3 weeks
Mm.
after Christian passes away. And she says that he was very arrogant and he was very condescending. Now, the research that I've done on this police chief, and from what I
Right.
gather, I wholeheartedly am not really surprised to hear such a rave review of him and his stellar people skills, let's
Yeah.
say.
Agreed.
Um,
Totally.
because from what I've gathered, he wasn't exactly anything to write home to mama about.
Right.
Um,
What was his
but
name? I can't remember his name.
James Lee.
James Lee?
Yes. You can
Oh,
actually I did some research into him.
yeah.
It was quite enlightening to say the least.
Hmm.
Uh,
Yeah, I remember that chief of police just no like no concern. Like if someone brings you, I would believe actual evidence, you wouldn't think anything of it. You wouldn't try to, you know, dive into that evidence.
well, apparently the
Everything.
police chief now this is what is said, and when we talked about it in the I think it was the first episode, there are accounts that say that the police chief is the one that showed up on scene and shut down the investigation 40 minutes into it.
Right.
Now, like I said, we weren't there. I wasn't there.
No,
You weren't
I
there.
also heard though, but
But
I don't know if it's true. You know, you read so much on the internet
oh, I know.
that the DA actually yelled the call to the chief of police. So again, like you said, we weren't there. We don't really know. But
There's a lot of
so
speculation. There's been a lot of he said, she said, this is what.
mm,
And until our guest comes on and kind of confirms,
what was actually
I
going on?
yeah, because I feel like when you talk to someone that knows this case inside and out, and then we're sitting here, we're just going off of what we hear, what we find, what we discover. Um, but to have someone that close as our guest is to this case, I'm sure that she can answer that a little more clearly. Now, with that being said, also remember no one else was at that apartment that day except for Shitley and Dylan and supposedly
Mm,
Christian
this
and no
is
one else. But we all know that there had to have been that other person.
there. She
That's just
is.
speculation. Remember, pre warning, we're not nice over here. Fuck those
Mm-mm.
people.
Yep. Mm-mm.
Just throwing that out there for anybody who's confused on what side of the fence we play on. Fuck Shitley
Yeah.
Goodman.
Right. There she is.
Um, oh yeah, we're
It
gonna
looks
have a
like shit
menage.
there.
We're
Yeah.
gonna have a montage of her mugshots
Mm,
later on. It's fabulous. I can't wait.
yep.
Actually, we'll probably throw in that good one of old Dylan Swearingen with a OD on the fentanyl. It was good. It was nice.
Oh yeah.
He's
Yeah.
such a.
That's a
I mean,
good one.
they're just great fucking people. Like, what can we say
Hmm.
about them?
Well,
Um,
people with drug addictions, they will go to any lengths to fulfill their needs.
well,
You know.
it seems really funny to me that so many people that have been named in this Man, the arrest records and the drug problem seems like some guilty consciences might be at
Mm,
play. Just it's my
you never know.
speculation, you know.
Yeah.
Little guilty conscience getting to them. Um, but anyways, we're moving on to the um situation. So Ray and Todd end up meeting with James Lee, the chief of police, and he pretty much is like, he killed himself, go home and deal with it, and like shoves him out the door.
Basically,
I mean,
right.
just like very cold and condescending. And I don't care who you are, you're dealing with a grieving family, regardless if their child did or didn't unalive himself. They're still a grieving family, and you sir are kind of that lifeline for them. So to say that he handled it inappropriately would be a
Right.
huge
An understatement.
misunderstatement.
Right. Yeah.
But of course, the family's like, but he didn't know. So then they decide they
Mm,
want to go, and they want it reopened with the Mississippi Bureau of Investigation, MBI. But Lee absolutely refused and suggested that the Andreacchios just go home and accept it once again. So
right.
Ray asked, well, if this were your child, would you do the same? Would
Mm,
you just go home and accept it? And he's like, sure would. In what fucking world, dude?
right.
Um,
Yeah. Right.
and Ray
Literally.
was like, well, if that's how you felt, there's no reason for them to talk anymore. They just kind of ended the meeting, and that was just how it stood. Um, and over the course of years, the Andreacchios have been brushed off, and they've been led on, and they've been given false hope um, for years after this meeting with Chief Lee. Um,
There you go.
and then uh, Ray actually kind of, you know, gets in there, and she kind of becomes a pit bull in this situation,
Mm,
and she becomes her own investigator. Like, she's like, no, you know what? This is bullshit. We're gonna
right.
do something.
Yeah. You see your
So,
comment there.
oh, absolutely handled extremely unprofessionally.
Mm,
Um, and Ray Andreacchio is like, this isn't gonna settle for me. This is not what I'm gonna do. This is not what we're gonna do. So then, coincidentally, Chief Lee was fired not long after for his improprieties. There were some uh,
hmm.
there were some sexual harassment claims.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
there was a lot of things, and the mayor actually made the comment and said that he had lost faith in his ability to run his department. So then Buck Roberts was appointed as the interim chief until a new chief was
Right.
hired. Now, Roberts actually allowed MBI to come in May of 2014.
Mm,
Um, and they actually wrapped up in November of 2014. And they created a report that was given to the current district attorney, Bilbo
yeah.
Mitchell.
Oh, I've got
Now,
his picture here.
Bilbo would claim that he never got the report.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm. I wonder why, Mr. Mitchell.
Yeah.
I
Right.
wonder why. Why would you claim that, Bilbo? Hmm.
Hmm.
Now, 4 months after Christian's death, so around July and August, somewhere in there, Benny Dubose was appointed as chief, and he took over the Andreacchio case. Now, he said a lot of stuff didn't make sense. When the gun was sent to the lab, they didn't find any prints on it at all. Christian's prints most definitely should have been on it. If he unalived himself, he was holding it. His prints most definitely should have been. I mean, he didn't wipe them
Right.
off
You would
himself.
think, yeah.
Let's be honest. He didn't take time to wipe them off after he.
There's
Yeah,
no way. Yeah.
no.
I mean,
Um, and he said, and even Benny Dubose said, this thing was like wiped down, and he reflected on, like, he looked back on the fact that the bathroom was
mm,
surprising. His words, surprisingly clean.
well, it really
And
was.
It was though. Look at the picture. I mean, we've seen the pictures.
Yeah, we've seen it years
It
ago.
it was extremely clean. There's no blood spatter. There's
Mm-mm.
no
Right, that's the thing. There's no
I mean,
blood.
there's just
You see that
it's
picture. There's
clean.
the
Like
beer.
I imagine that
Yeah,
bathroom smells like bleach when we look at the picture.
I would imagine so.
And I want to know whose genius idea it was to take the crime scene photos with a cell phone.
Hmm. Well, I don't know if that's from the cell phone, but they're pretty grainy. They look like it. I don't know, but who knows? They did get called out of there pretty quick, so who knows what really happened there.
Um, no, I mean,
And I don't
Benny
know.
Dubose
Honestly, I don't
says
know
that
if well, I don't know if law enforcement actually took pictures. I know a lot of those pictures came from his brother when his brother and his uncle went back in.
oh no, they did.
So
They
yeah.
legitimately did. But the law enforcement pictures that were taken with a cell phone.
Oh well.
They
Yeah.
have issued cameras. I
Well,
know
you
that
would.
people think in
Yeah.
Mississippi that we're a little backwoods, but I mean we do have cameras. Like maybe they're from the Walgreens and they're a little point and shoot, but by golly, we got cameras. I mean, this come on, like, are you fucking
Yeah.
kidding
To
me?
comment. Yeah. Ammonia or bleach, one of the two.
Yeah. Now at this point, DA Coleman agrees with Dubose, saying that there's incompetence and a lack of thoroughness in all of this. So Dubose agrees that it wasn't a suicide. He also doesn't think it was a homicide. Now, if it wasn't a suicide, it wasn't a homicide, what the fuck was it?
Right.
Fairy tale creatures? Like,
Mm, yeah, that's strange. I don't
are you
understand.
gonna tell me it was a fucking accident with the way he was laid?
Yeah, no,
Is that what you're
that's
gonna
not.
you're gonna tell me it was an accident? You just
Mm,
come on. Come
yeah.
on. Alrighty. If this is the hill you wanna take there, guys. But if it's not a homicide, it's not a suicide.
Right.
What do
So
you
what is the
what are you
ruling
calling it?
then? Yeah.
Fucking
Hmm.
Tinkerbell throwing a tantrum and poked you with pixie dust? I mean,
I don't think so. Yeah. No.
the fuck? So now he says, and this just floored me. I read this like 9 times to make sure that I quoted it correctly. Um, when asked what he thought the real manner of death, Dubose says, neither. I don't think Mr.
Hmm.
Andreacchio killed himself on purpose. And I don't think anybody else killed
There's a good comment.
Andreacchio on purpose. He
Mm,
feels like Christian was holding the gun to his head like before, this time in the bathroom. Maybe Willie reached for it and it discharged. It was just an accident. Yeah, you know what? The
mm.
accident thing may have played out
But
had it
okay,
not been
okay.
for
Let's just say there was an accident. Where's the blood? Where's the
where's
freaked
the
out
blood spatter?
girlfriend? Right. Where's the blood spatter? Where's the crying
No, we went
girlfriend?
through
Oh
his
my God, it's a
pockets.
mistake.
We
Yeah,
went through his
no.
pockets.
Trying to get a
Yeah,
cigarette, Yeah.
that's what I would have done if the love of my
If I
life was.
accidentally was fighting with the love of my life and a gun goes off, I'm gonna probably pass out in his blood because I'm gonna be like, oh my God, what the hell just happened? But they rummaged through his pockets instead. So, I mean, I think everything about this screams they're guilty. They did more than what they're saying. They were involved more.
I just don't.
So,
I don't even understand the logic that goes into this. Like,
mm-mm. Well,
I
law
mean,
enforcement's really to blame at this point because, I mean, even when you go
100%.
when you get into the MBI, MBI's report was disturbing, like as if they were trying to debunk everything that came along. Like, what do you mean?
Yeah.
It didn't make any headway into. They could have been more responsible. They could have blown this wide open a lot more, but I feel like they just kind of they how do I put it? Like debunked it. Oh, well, the gun was this way because potentially maybe this happened or maybe
Well,
that
and you know
happened.
what though?
The
That's the same
scenarios.
thing because at one point he claimed, so Dubose claimed that they had new information from Whitley because she's a
Mhm.
fucking reliable source.
Oh, yeah, of course.
And she says, you know what? I just happened to be thinking about it on a random Tuesday. And I think it was an accident because Christian had gotten his gun modified to be a hair trigger.
Yeah. Now you're telling us? Okay.
Convenient, right?
Mhm.
It's almost like law enforcement gave them their alibis and they're like,
Yeah.
that's what it was.
Well, I feel like,
Mm-hmm.
law enforcement did a lot of what's called leading. They
Oh,
led them
absolutely.
into more
But
than what
that
they should
goes
have.
exactly, but that goes all the way back to that fucking 911 call.
Mm, yep.
He planted the seed. He led the whole thing, including a wild goose chase to the wrong apartment,
Right.
and called
Again,
everybody under the sun
like I've always
except for
said,
the Andreacchios.
of course. Like I've said, though, they are master manipulators. And I'm sorry, like you said, we're not nice here. That is my opinion. I'm sticking to it.
My whole
Master
thing is they're like,
manipulators.
how did crackheads perfect the perfect murder? They didn't.
Mm-mm.
That's
That's
just
why
it.
we're
They
questioning
fucking
it.
did. Anywhere else, these two motherfuckers would have already been thrown under the fucking jail.
Oh,
All
yeah.
right,
Under the
anywhere
jail.
else. I don't even care
Mm-hmm.
if this happened in Pearl, Mississippi. Anywhere else, these two yahoos would have botched this so badly that they would have thrown them under the fucking jail. But
Mm-hmm.
Meridian has dropped the ball so badly that it's kind of like, hey guys,
And
like
it's like not
it's gonna
even
be it's a little late for us to go back and be like, we made a boo boo. We made a
right.
boo boo.
But it's not. It's not. And most of the players, the key players from the beginning, are either retired or have been fired or they're gone. So let's just let this family get some justice. And nevertheless, the two individuals that we know for sure are responsible. What stops them from doing this again? Years later, they've gotten
Exactly.
away with it. They've forgotten the terror, the fear, and they do it again.
Exactly. Exactly. When they want more money and they need more drugs.
Right. I
I
mean,
mean, seriously. And you know what? That's so crazy to me is like, so in all of this, like, oh yeah, I do remember Christian modified this guy. Yep. Like you fed them their
mm,
entire fucking alibi. And you did
yeah.
it just so like freely. And
Yep.
you never realized you were feeding it and leading them. And then, of course Ray and Todd are like, no,
Mm-mm.
that
Well, I
lie
think
doesn't work either.
anybody with an ounce of common sense can see through what's happening here. I mean, guns don't magically move after a suicide. You know,
Yeah.
the crime scene doesn't magically clean itself after a suicide. Fingerprints don't just magically disappear after a suicide. All of those things, regardless of anything else,
Blood
should tell
spatter
you.
doesn't just
Yeah, there's
not
no blood spatter,
happen.
nothing. So it's
That's the
all of those
cleanest
things.
that is the cleanest unaliving I've ever seen.
True. Yeah, I forgot we probably shouldn't say that S word.
I
Sorry.
mean, yeah,
Yeah.
I just don't it wasn't that's not what it was. I refuse to call
Yeah.
it that.
No, I
I
agree.
refuse to call this
Well,
situation
right.
just based on everything. I refuse to call it that. And I think to even insinuate and say that is so disrespectful to the Andreacchios and his family and to Christian and everybody that
I
loved him.
agree.
Because you know what? We can sit here all day long and we can talk about all the different things that this family has gone through. But the one thing that we still cannot, you can't change is that the family's been lied to and they don't have justice. And I refuse to insinuate that he did that to himself. I just,
Oh
you
no, I
know,
agree.
in the
I,
very beginning, I went into this very open, like with an open mind. And now I'm like,
right. No, I
no.
agree.
And
I'm
that's
just
the thing with Ray and
purely.
Todd. They knew from
Mhm.
the beginning. They're like, no, it's not bullshit.
Right.
Bullshit.
I'm
And
just
then,
saying that what they're
oh, yeah.
pitching is that it's this, but where is the evidence? Where are the pieces
There,
of this that would be
exactly.
there?
Exactly.
Whether it
You
was a
can't even
crime
give me
scene,
one piece.
no, even if it was, whether it's unaliving or a crime scene, a murder, where is the blood spatter? Why isn't there blood all over the walls? You know what I mean? Like, you shoot someone in the head, regardless if they do it to themselves or they do it or you do it, there's going to be blood everywhere. Where's the blood? They said they'd
That's
found
been
no blood except
none
for on the outside of the
of
door.
a closed door. What?
No.
So now it just
No.
walks through walls.
Yeah,
Makes
the
sense.
bullet is laying in the tub, but then
Like
we have
straight down
right, but we have a picture
of a bullet
of a
hole.
bullet hole by the light socket, which is not anywhere
Not
near the tub. Obviously, you would not have a light socket near your tub. I
no,
mean,
nobody is blow drying and straightening their fucking hair.
right,
I'm
right
just
in the
saying,
tub. Yeah,
I have threatened more times than I can count to take a bath with my toaster. The only problem is I don't
don't do
want to
that.
find the extension cord. Okay,
Yeah, don't
I'm
do that.
telling you now, nobody puts an outlet near a bathtub.
No, so and you see, my day job, I was in the world of housing, so that's a GFCI right there, that button in the middle, and it resets it. So if you were
Yeah,
to drop your toaster in the sink or the bathtub,
it would
that would
safety.
immediately trigger it and turn it off. So, yeah. So, but the bullet hole next to that means that a bullet strayed across the room or
That's what.
somewhere in the
Okay,
vicinity outside of the bathtub.
in our world, that's what it means. In Meridian Police Department's world, it don't
Hmm.
mean that apparently.
Yeah, no.
I think we have to and they fed these people their alibis and their stories and they fed them. They gave it to him on a
Yeah.
fucking
In
silver platter and they said, "Here you go." You know, and then of course Ray and Todd are just like,
in the
"No."
legal world, that's called leading, and you'd be surprised. There's a lot of law enforcement agencies that just want to pin the case on one
Mhm.
particular person, so they will lead them, especially younger people who are
Oh yeah.
easily, swayed, and they will lead them right into, well, was this right? I mean, isn't that what you were doing that night? And then the thought is planted in their head. So yeah, but lots of leading there.
We'll see. And then, you know, so Ray and Todd don't agree with what the whole he had the gun modified and all this shit.
Mm,
So then Ray, of course, everything points to murder opposed as a suicide. So
mm,
Ray's like, well, then the question comes up, well, what happens if you find out the gun hadn't been modified? She was told, well, then they're going to have a problem. Like, Ray
mm.
told them the gun hadn't been modified because if it had been, it would have been at a specific place. And that place, like, confirmed they indeed did not modify said handgun.
I mean,
So
wouldn't there be
back to
money
you,
traces,
MPD. What have you got now?
right?
What other story can you
Wouldn't
spin?
wouldn't there be traceable like way to, like, I mean, if there was there'd be a receipt or a
Of
cash
course,
exchange or
they have to keep,
something,
especially
and
with anything
that's
like
not
that.
the case. Yeah.
Especially with anything
So
like that.
yeah.
Um,
So
and then they send the gun off for a drop test to see if it malfunctioned. Because remember, it was manually decocked, right? And a Kimber doesn't decock on its own; it has to be manually. I know that for a fact. I'm a huge Kimber fan. Um,
mhm.
and so they send the gun off for a drop test to see if it would malfunction. And it never did. After multiple rounds of testing, it never malfunctions. Now, Ray had already talked to somebody at Kimber about the likelihood of that particular type of gun malfunctioning,
Mhm.
and they pretty much were like, "It's impossible." And that
Yeah.
I'll say, look, I'm a huge Kimber fanatic, man. I know Kimber well, and I know I would trust it in any situation. Uh,
Right.
And I promise you, every time I've ever pulled the trigger on my Kimber, it's been ready and
Yeah,
tried and
I
true.
feel like the
So as far as a
likelihood of yeah,
malfunction,
yeah.
a Kimber's not a cheap. It's not a cheap firearm. So it's not like they're out here with a fucking like high point. I mean,
Mhm.
if
Right.
that was the case, I would be like, well, let's talk about options. But um, those guns just don't malfunction like that. And so, like, in an attempt to delay the Andriacchios, Jerry Bray too was hired. Now, his entire job was was explained to Ray as they were investigating cold cases, and specifically, he was going to focus on Christians. Now,
Mm,
Ray described him as a go between for them and the district attorney, Bilbo Mitchell, and that she's still not sure he did anything or talked to anyone in a year and a half that he was on the case. So now they've sent this off for the drop test. They've done all this. Now we've got this middleman, and he's supposedly really looking into it, and he's going to do these things. Guess what?
never does it. Nope.
No, nothing comes out of it. He's another person
Mm-mm.
for them to have to, I guess, go through, but there's still no.
Nothing's
He's like
happening. Yeah.
useless. It was just another roadblock for them to hit, right?
Mm,
So, and every time that they contacted this Jerry guy, he would have to run things by Bilbo every single time. Meanwhile,
mm,
he would be lying to the Andriacchios and basically getting them to pay for shit. Like he would convince them to pay for things. Like Ray and Jerry had a conversation about the possibility and helpfulness of a crime scene reconstruction. Jerry was like, yep, that'd be great, but it's not in the budget. So
oh,
Ray does research and she hires her own crime scene reconstruction specialist. Now, Jerry over here wasn't convinced with their findings that it was a staged suicide. Now, let me explain something. I know who Ray used. I looked at the report, and let me tell you something. She didn't exactly call like hair care, tire center, and crime scene specialist.
right.
She called like the motherfucking goats, okay? Like she
Hmm.
went to the top. She
Oh
didn't,
yeah, the people she had on this were pretty epic,
but now
amazing. Hmm.
Jerry's gonna be like, yeah, I don't know about this.
Oh wow.
I'm not real convinced that, like,
Hmm.
dude. So then he mentions to Ray, okay, so now he's not convinced about this crime scene reconstruction and all these things. So then he decides to mention to Ray that a DNA sample that was on Christian's gun was too small to test. So Ray researches a lab that specializes in these minute small samples, right? She finds a company and explains that they could use that small amount to rule people out. All right. So Ray tells Jerry. Jerry said he'd have to run it by Bilbo to have the sample released. Okay. So
Mm,
Bilbo decides to go to Jacksonville, Florida, to talk
mm-hmm.
to another forensics company. Ray found out,
That's kind
and
of odd. Mm.
so then told the Andriacchios to hold off on the DNA because he thinks he has enough for a murder charge. But
Mm.
absolutely nothing,
Nothing
nothing
happened.
has happened at all. So like you tell these people one thing and you get them to hold on, you're holding out hope, and then you're like,
Nothing. Why even
just
go
kidding.
there? Why even go there? You know what I mean? Like why not just be honest? Like no, we're not going to do anything about it. We're not, you know? Cuz really feels like they're just buying time to like
It
keep them
does. It's
quiet.
like
Here be
they're
quiet.
just
Here be
appeasing
quiet.
them. Because then
Yeah.
Ray starts in on this Jerry guy again. Now he's already like taking his dear sweet time, right? Now he says that he couldn't talk to Whitley because she's a minor.
Mm.
Ray sends him a letter with a list of minors, 14 to 15 years old, who were arrested for murder. And Jerry was like, maybe, she was kind of like, maybe you could talk to the detectives in these cases because they seem to be able to talk to minors, Jerry. What you doing,
Mhm.
Jerry?
Pretty much, yeah. And
Then he'll tell her, you must have misunderstood. No, Jerry, what I'm not understanding is why you over here with your dick in your hands, not
mhm.
doing any work for these people. All
Exactly.
right. But then the next excuse, because this
Mm.
man just walks around with a 55-gallon drum of fucking excuses.
Oh
Just
yes, yes,
here's another one.
absolutely. Mm.
Jerry tells Ray they're waiting for the coroner to get over being mad at them.
Oh my god, I saw that. I'm like, what?
What? Oh,
The unprofessionalism that goes on in this case is unreal, mind blowing.
wait a minute. You're literally gonna tell a grieving parent. Like, I'm laughing about it, but it's not funny to Ray. And I'm not even laughing because it's funny. I'm laughing honestly at the
It's mind
absolute
blowing.
utter insanity
Hmm.
because you're telling a grieving parent, a grown woman, you are a grown ass man working for the fucking sheriff's department or DA's
Yep.
office or whoever you're actually a liaison for, and you have the audacity to say we're waiting until the coroner's not mad at us. Did you take his fucking Legos on the playground?
Right.
Are you 3?
Hmm.
Are you fucking kidding me?
Right. Mm.
Y'all need to be Yeah, I see why you can't talk to minors. Y'all are damn minors yourselves.
Right. The miners might get over on them.
It's
Might
pretty
be
much they already
smarter.
have.
Yeah,
So
really, they have. So,
you're now Jerry's like, well, the coroner's mad at us, so when he gets over it, we'll get the crime scene photos. And Ray's just like, I mean, I have the coroner's phone number. Like, I can just give him a call. And so the coroner tells Ray never once in his entire career has he ever taken pictures of the crime scene. Which, guess
mhm.
what? The coroner normally doesn't. That's the investigators, the detectives, those people. That's
Right.
that's normally their job.
Mhm.
So then Ray calls out old Jerry for lying. And he goes, well, you must have misunderstood me again.
Oh my
There's a
gosh.
lot of
Yeah, no.
misunderstanding going on.
Right. Maybe he's not communicating properly. I don't know.
You can't make this up. Like, I want to be lying.
Mhm.
And then old Jerry again says, gee, it sure would be great if, we could use luminol on the apartment to see if there are any traces of blood, right? So Ray's like, yep, that'd be great. Let's do that.
Why not? Yeah.
Jerry explained that they ain't have anyone trained in that.
Mm. Yep. No one was trained on how to
So
handle
he
that.
was going to have to search it on YouTube.
Mhm.
Hmm. Or ask Jeeves and watch a how-to video. Then he could probably do it. I, I,
I have no
I
words. Can you imagine law enforcement telling you that after the death of a loved one? I mean, that is honestly we're kind of making light of it, but it's mind blowing, completely, totally
could
mind
you
blowing, irresponsible of law enforcement, and quite honestly, the law enforcement department there should be investigated themselves at this point. This point,
this motherfucker said, I'll
mm,
watch a YouTube.
you know, maybe he
Let me tell you
thought
something.
that in his
I am
head, but
going tomorrow and I am applying for the head neurosurgeon position at the top
mm,
clinic here. Do you know
right,
why?
You're
Because
just gonna
I'm
look
going to
it up on the
watch a
internet. Yeah.
YouTube video on brain surgery.
Hmm.
Now, are you going to let me fucking operate on you?
Yeah, no,
No.
sorry. I
So
love you
I
to death, but no.
guarantee you,
No.
I'm not letting you investigate and ruin any small chance of a
Well,
possibility of having
what
any
I
evidence.
right. What I find to be what I believe the truth here is with the law enforcement is for lack of better words, they're stupid. They're dumb, okay? So with
Th-
that said, they
that is
think
the
everyone else is
understatement.
dumb, but they think everyone else is dumb. And what you find is Christian's mom is anything but. She's one of the smartest people I think I've ever come to know in the world. She's on it. So when these
She is.
investigators saying these things to her, she's like, "What the hell?" And now that we're hearing it, we're all going, "What?" I mean,
Can
any
you
normal
imagine,
person with
honestly?
intelligence.
I want you to really think about this for a second. The most precious thing in your world
Mm,
is taken from you, and they look at you, and can you imagine sitting there and them going, "We're going to use YouTube."
yeah, no.
I mean, could
Mm-mm. I'm not sure what this comment means, but
I-
um, maybe he means they come out dumber. I don't know. But
well, yeah,
yeah.
they are.
Yeah.
Um, but he was gonna go on YouTube or Ask Jeeves and watch a how to. He could probably do it. Now,
I mean,
obviously, Ray did not like that idea. She didn't love that idea, and she didn't trust, that his results would be worth anything or
that's
that
what
he
I would worry
wouldn't
too.
damage what little bit of evidence they could possibly have. So what does
Hmm.
she do? She's like, you know what? I'll um I'll go find an expert. Don't worry. Like I'm gonna go find an expert. So then I guess because Jerry was like, I'm gonna get my YouTube university degree in luminol and
Yeah.
forensics. That's a thing. But now because Ray doesn't want to do that, he's like Jerry tells her, "Oh, they're not actually going to be able to do it because the apartment complex was wanting the city to sign a liability waiver, taking responsibility for anything that they damage in the process, and the city's not willing to do that."
Mm-mm.
What? So now Ray's
Mm-mm.
track record with Jerry, let's be honest, up until this point, it's like it's not looking real good. All right.
No.
I'm just saying, if Jerry tells me something, I'm fact checking. All right. Like I'm
Hmm.
fixing a fact check. If that dude tells me right now it's raining cats and dogs outside, before I walk out with a leash, I'm gonna have to walk out there and pet some pussy. Like, I'm not kidding. This is insanity, right?
Yeah.
So, of course, you know, Ray's like, maybe I should do my own follow up because this guy ain't exactly been forthcoming. So she goes to the apartment complex, okay, to the manager
Mm.
who tells her I've that she's never talked to anyone about this whole liability and waiver and none of this. So
Right.
none of this is actually true. But she was sure that the girl in the apartment now would let him do it if it would help the case.
Yeah.
So she checks with the tenant and she was right. The tenant's like, "Yeah, sure, go ahead. Help yourself." Um
Hmm.
Ray signed nothing. No paper about liability or damage or anything like that.
Mm. No.
So then she calls out Jerry again for lying. And he's like, "Oops, looks like you misunderstood me again."
Again.
This man has zero
Mm-mm.
accountability. It's always you misunderstood me. If that
Oh
is
my
not the
god.
most narcissistic,
Hmm.
annoying shit that I've ever heard.
Absolutely. I agree. Just
So then
that's
at
the
the end of all
go-to.
this, he asked to be taken off the case But I'm just gonna go on and tell you, if I'd have been Ray and Todd, I'd have been like, get this fucker off my case. I
I
mean,
agree.
seriously, like this man is lied every step of the way and giving you a grain of false hope. That's all he's done is
Mm,
give these people this one little
constant.
grain, and then
Mhm.
turns around and he's like, just kidding.
Yep.
You
Oops, you
misunderstood
misunderstood.
me.
Yeah, no.
No, these are educated, intelligent human people. They're not dumb. They're not ill educated and don't understand basic English. So, no, they did not understand you, Jerry.
Misunderstand you. Yeah, no.
Jerry's just a piece of shit.
Ridiculous. Yep. Ridiculous. The
But
whole thing.
now, like, okay, because of all this, though, at this point, by now, Ray and Todd have pretty much like accumulated and collected like their own team of forensic
Right.
investigators
Mm-hmm.
because every time Jerry said something, Ray had to go do the job for him anyways. So now
Pretty
they've
much, yeah.
collected this team of it's almost like the dream team of forensic investigators. And now they're going to determine the blood spatter in the bathroom, the location of the bullet, DNA, pretty much every aspect that should have been the responsibility of
Mm-hmm.
the police department in the beginning.
Right.
So the Andreacchios have their own private investigator, Max Mays, and their attorney on their team. Now, their attorney, Cynthia, said that at first she thought she was going to be consoling a grieving mother who was having a hard time accepting that her son killed himself. That is not what
Right.
she found in Ray. Cynthia
Mm-hmm.
says that she found out, the more that she found out, the more outrageous it became. And she also said that to come to a conclusion that this was a suicide takes some real gymnastics. If there has ever been any statement that is 110% accurate, it would have to be that. To
Agreed.
come to the conclusion that this was a suicide takes some real gymnastics.
Mm, I
I
agree.
don't even have to say anything else. I mean, that is 100%
That's
the
it
truth.
all. Yeah.
Because literally, like, Jerry over here has gone to YouTube University. So
Mhm.
I can't. Like, do you know how many times I had to go over and listen to that to make sure I heard what I heard?
I know. Me too.
We're gonna go to YouTube.
Right.
I I want to be a
Mhm.
neurosurgeon. I'm just gonna go get on YouTube. It's
Just
fine.
yeah. I think I have faith in you. Okay.
Like, I'm not gonna let you operate on me, but I have
Yeah.
faith in
I
you.
have faith in you. You can't touch me, but you know. Um.
So then, you know what? Now they've got this team of top notch forensics, right? So
Mm,
now we're gonna now guess what's coming into question? The time of death and the coroner's ruling.
okay.
So Christian was described by some to be in
Mhm.
partial rigor, right?
Right.
This takes a few hours.
Right.
So now, multiple experts, okay? Remember this, multiple experts
Mm.
have said that he is in partial or,
Rigor
advanced
mortis.
rigor.
Yeah. Yeah.
If that takes a few hours, let's do some basic math in here, guys. 2 plus 2 doesn't equal 4 now, does it?
Well.
In this
Yeah.
world, in, in,
Yeah.
in Jerry and Whitley's world and all that, 2 plus 2 obviously doesn't equal 4 because um, if he was in partial or advanced rigor, right, and he's dead for a few hours because that's how you get that, that
Mm.
would mean that he was dead for hours before 911 was ever called. So that would totally throw their whole
And I've
whole
always
story out
yeah.
the window.
Well, of course,
Correct?
I've always suspected that. I've always suspected that he was dead well before the 911 call. I actually believe he was even dead before this photo took place of Dylan going, oh, come on, there you go. Dylan going to the bank and trying to pull Christian's money out.
I believe he was
I
already dead.
believe, yeah, I believe he was already dead at that point. I don't believe Christian would have said, "Sure, drain my bank account. I don't need anything."
No,
No,
no, and
nobody's
I
gonna
don't
do that.
honestly. I believe that Christian was dead within, I would say, 10 minutes most of
I
being in
think
that
so.
apartment,
Agreed.
and 10 minutes is I'm giving it a good grace period to argue and maybe a
Mhm.
struggle.
Yeah. Right.
Now, but here's the thing. So that gives time for a cleanup, right? If he's in advanced rigor, he's been dead for hours. That would give time for some
Mhm.
cleanup.
You would think, yeah, sure,
So the
probably.
coroner also noted that there was lividity in the back of Christian's leg that was still present at the autopsy. This means that he
Um,
was on his back or at least seated when he died.
yep,
And he was in that
lividity.
position for a
Mhm.
while, allowing the blood to settle before being placed in the final position, laying over the side of the tub. The coroner would also rule the manner of death to be undetermined, not suicide. However, later, a forensic pathologist labeled the death as suicide, and the time of death would be listed at 3:45.
Hmm.
Bullshit.
Yeah, the lividity
Bullshit.
thing, just for people that don't know what lividity is, it's kind of like what you explained. The blood pools up in a certain location if the dead body is sitting.
Yes.
So if you were to pick that dead body up and move it, the lividity would still show that it was there.
Honestly, the best way I can describe it is if anybody's ever seen like blueberry marble swirl ice cream.
Mhm. Right.
That's what it
Yeah.
looks like. Like when your blood pools in like the lividity, it looks like blueberry
Mhm.
marbled ice cream.
Right. It's just kind of a
And
darker
but
marking
it
blood, yeah.
stays there in that part of your
Mhm.
body. Now,
So if he's now hunched over the tub, how the hell does he have lividity on the back of his leg?
you can't get it
So
unless
yeah.
he was sitting. That's the only way
Mhm.
in the history of ever could he have had lividity in the back of his legs,
Mhm.
which means he was left sitting for an extended period of time as well.
Mhm. Then they scrambled around. We need to make a plan.
We got to
Let's
clean
put
this
him
place
over the
up.
bathtub,
Oh
make it look
shit,
like
we got to
he,
make it look like this, find the bullet, get this, do
Mhm.
that. And you know what? It's not even that they did a good job.
No. Mm-mm.
They just they
Um,
happened to get the one police department with a whole bunch of Barney fives. They were like,
oh yeah. And I
this
mean, look at
looks
we're
like
gonna look at
it's
this bathroom one more time. If you really look at this
yes.
bathroom, this is
So
so
now
small. It's apartment
notice
sized tiny bathroom.
that's what I was gonna say. Notice how small this bathroom is.
Mhm.
Number one, look at where Christian would have been or where he is in the photos that we're not going to show out
No.
of pure respect for A, the family, and B, I refuse to victimize Christian anymore.
Oh no. No,
I
no.
know that there are things that are out there that should not have been out there. I will never,
Mhm.
I do not give a damn. That is something I would
Agreed.
never ever do. Um, but if you look at the picture and you think about Christian's height and his size, that door had to be open, which would explain, I don't know, the blood
I
smetter on
agree.
the outside of the
Agreed.
door.
Mhm. Didn't the
But
door
if,
open inward? I think
yes,
it opened in, so that
I
maybe
think
explains
so.
the
I
splatter, you
think
know?
so.
I
But
think
I'm
so, and I
wondering,
think that's what explains
my
that.
big thought and my big wonder has always been, where was he sitting? I think they had him sitting on the toilet.
Possibly. I don't know. It's possible. I mean, without the luminol or checking different areas in that apartment, no one's ever going to know what room he was in. To me, what it looked like at the end, and I don't want to like offend or hurt anybody, but it almost looked like he was murdered execution style. On his
It
knees in front
does.
of the bathtub.
But you know what? We have pictures. We can
Hmm.
find them real quick
Okay.
of the luminol test.
Oh, do we? Okay.
Yes.
All right. Let's see.
Um, we have them. I can look for them.
Yeah, send those over and then I'll get them on the screen. That's interesting, and that's the test that His mom did, right?
Yes. So that is a test that Knox and Associates ended up running because they were like, mm-mm, no. So, mind you,
Uh-huh.
uh, let's see, where in the world? I am sending these over to you. I know for some reason, for whatever reason, I don't know why I hadn't already sent these to you, but I'm gonna let you put them up on the
Oh yeah.
screen because we have the actual. This is one of the luminol pictures. So this is one of the luminol tests, right?
Mm.
And you explain to me how where he was in this picture how
Mm.
they would coincide because they don't. They don't work at all.
So this is the bathroom door. Is that what we're talking about?
Uh, yes,
Okay, so that's the bathroom door. So maybe it opens inward or outward. I would looks like
that's
it
what
opens
I'm
out.
trying.
Looks like it opens out. And if that's the case, if it opens out,
Well,
how
isn't
did
this the
blood
shower curtain over here?
Oh, maybe that's the bathroom then. Yeah, that's so maybe it does open inward.
I think
Yeah,
it
it could
opens
be.
inward.
So then you do see the blue like, in the wall, that's the blood. So
Yep.
there was blood and a lot of
Oh,
it
there's
it
a
looks
lot
like.
of it.
And it
That's the
looks like
thing.
yeah.
There's a ton of it
Mhm.
on the uh on the test.
Mhm.
So what I don't understand, and I'm actually looking right now, is seeing if I can find um
Mhm.
the door.
Um yeah, I haven't been able to find a lot of pictures about on any of that, but yeah, that actually explains a lot. Just that photo itself, with all the blue that's showing up, that's all the blood, and now you know for a fact somebody cleaned that crime scene up. It's
Exactly.
undeniable now. So,
And
but if
that is
if
what
authorities had done this right away, we wouldn't be here today. I mean, if authorities had done this
that's my
right
whole
away.
thing.
Mhm.
Had they just done their fucking job to begin with.
Mhm.
If they had just
Then it
done
would have.
I'm sorry, the fucking bare minimum.
Yeah, we agree. Yeah,
Like
then
just
they
the
would have been
fucking
yeah.
bare minimum. I'm
Mhm.
sorry, but this kid got the short end of the stick. This
Yeah,
family's
he
gotten
did.
the short end of the stick. And you have
Mhm.
literally just sat there and pretty much been like, you've
Yeah.
disrespected these people. You have made a mockery of these people and their loved one. And the whole you misunderstood, you misunderstood, and all those things. And I am sorry, but I don't give a damn who you are. At the end of the day, you either have to admit you're a piece of shit
Mhm.
or I don't even know at this point, but admit you're the stupidest person in the room.
I
You
agree.
got to admit something.
Right.
But these people
Oh,
legitimately have like just
yeah. Well, I don't know. Back to like the bathroom though. You see that, and then we're gonna go look at the actual bathroom again. Um, what the hell? You know what I mean? What the
so you
hell?
see in the luminol test, I mean, you can
Mhm.
clearly see there is a lot
Oh
of
yeah.
spatter and there was a lot of cleanup. You can see the wipe and the smear marks. There's a lot of cleanup there, but none of that was photographed. None of that was present in any of
Mhm.
the stuff that was going on. So, with that being said, of course, Ray is like, you know what? I'll just do my own. I'll have my own
Oh,
guys
I'm
come
so
in.
glad she did because I
I am
mean,
too. I am super glad that she did because just like in this one segment right here, we have talked about how this family is treated so horribly.
Mhm.
Like, absolutely horrible, right? And
Mhm.
still, like the attorney said, I thought I was going to have to console a grieving mom who just couldn't accept facts
Mhm.
for facts. But realistically, at the end of the day, you and I have talked about this off the record and off camera hundreds, if not thousands of times.
Right.
And going into it, you and I both said the same thing. We're going to go into this completely
Open-minded. Mhm.
unbiased and open minded. And you know what? Maybe this is what really happened. And then within, I would say, probably what, an hour, we're like,
No.
mm-hmm.
I mean, I think it was like 10 minutes for me, but with my background, I was like, "Nope, nope, and nope." Like,
Exactly.
literally,
Like the red flags for me just
yeah,
started like
pop.
instantly. And
Yeah,
like I said, I tried to go into this with an open mind. I tried to be, hear me out, but
right.
it's not
And not only
possible.
that, the behaviors of the individuals involved. I mean, again, if there was an accidental shooting, it didn't appear to have any, no one appeared to have any remorse. And they just continue to run,
None.
run, and run, and run, and not sit down and really, pinpoint what exactly happened. Stories change from, it depends on who you're speaking to and what day it is. Will tell you what
Depends
story you'll
on,
get. Yeah, right.
but the
Um,
people that were there have no, and I know obviously we're going to have another episode on Christian's case. We're
mhm,
actually going to have to do, so we are planning on moving our days. That is in the works. And next week
mhm,
there may be an update about that. We may have
yeah, there could
actually
be
successfully picked a new day as of next week. And we'll keep everyone posted on our YouTube and
socials
Facebook
and
and
yeah.
socials. However, I know there's going to be another part of this because we know we're never going to wrap it up in this.
No,
There's just too much. I mean, we
yeah.
still have to talk about the rest of gun night and the people that could get
I'm
pulled into
hoping that
this.
with our guest that comes on, who has inside information, maybe there will be, revisiting of gun night and whatnot, kind of just
Well,
dissecting
you
it
know
a
what?
little bit
Now
more.
that Ray has started getting, now that we're got to the point where Ray has gotten her own investigation, and now we're going to find out all the other people that are getting pulled into this and getting. I, it's like the worst plot to like the worst B-rated movie because the acting that Shitley gives just fucking floors me.
Yeah, I know.
I don't know how this bitch ain't in prison. I don't fucking
I
know.
don't know. I think she's on
If
her way
I
there.
did
I
this,
mean,
if I had done
you,
a quarter of this shit, do you understand me? A
yeah.
quarter of it, I would be
I
under a
think
fucking
she's
jail somewhere.
right, but I think she's on her way there. And like we talked
Is
about
she? Because she
prior,
seems to get
I don't
arrested and
know.
then get
Yeah,
the fuck out
but
with
what
a
we talked,
montage of her goddamn
right.
like
Remember what we talked about
mugshot.
prior, though, that we believe that she was an informant, and with her
Oh,
petty crimes,
wholeheartedly.
right? So with her petty crimes, she's running around doing stupid stuff, and when she's arrested, she's rolling over on all the big guys, the big fish, and getting out. So, yeah. I mean, just look from where she was then to where she is now. I mean, this speaks volumes about this person. You know, look at that. Just
Honestly, it really does. And I know like this is one of those where there's just so much more to unpack. So I'm really excited to get into next week's and I'm really, I know we could sit here for another
yeah.
7 hours and
No, I'm good.
still not be
No, no.
done.
Yeah, no, no. um,
Um, but you know what? I think that I'm gonna leave this one here. We've covered so much of the heavy stuff now. So we know that Ray is not that grieving mom who's just sitting over there and can't accept facts for facts. No, this is a woman who is headstrong and she is determined and she is dedicated. And I will tell you what, I hope, I hope that if I were ever faced, God forbid, I hope that I'm never faced, but I would hope that if I were ever faced with what this woman is going through, I would have the brass and the backbone and the just sheer determination that this woman has. Because I'm going to tell you what, Ray Andreacchio has got to be one of the baddest women that I've ever in my
Absolutely.
entire life.
She should be in some power or something in this country because
She should. Like,
it's really
she
good.
is absolutely, the woman's a beast. I'm not even lying. I
Yeah.
respect her so fucking much. Just, I mean, she's
But
going toe to toe
again,
with everyone and
I think
doesn't
we know
care.
though, don't test the love of a mother. You know,
Yeah,
she loved her child so much,
absolutely.
she will avenge his death, and we all in the podcast world are willing to assist her. I know we're not the only show. There's a ton of
Oh,
them out
absolutely
there,
not.
and I
But I
think
am willing
everybody
to,
agrees that we're here to help. So,
absolutely. And you know what? I will do everything in my power to keep Christian's case alive. And and if I have to do a show on it every 10 shows and I have to mention Christian,
we'll
I will.
revisit them. Yeah,
I don't care. I just, you know,
yeah.
this one is super personal. It's super close to home. And there's just so much. And to see, like you said, the love of a mom, man, you just cannot, there's nothing like it. You
Mm-mm.
can't top it. So I think when we, you know, obviously next week we'll dive in and we'll do some more. And we're going to kind of talk about the things that, and get into some of the things that her her team found, like the actual evidence that her team finds, and the people that keep getting pulled into it now from gun night. And we're going to talk about, you know, the way her fight still continues to this day. And you know
Mm-hmm.
what, we're gonna try to do our best to show Whitley and Dylan and Chet Miller and all of them for exactly what they fucking are.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So, with that being said, thank you everyone. It has been enlightening and it's been a wonderful night here at Cocktails and Crimes. Go see my wonderful co-host Ann over at Lost Common Sense and Unexplained Realms. And
Mm-hmm.
we will be back to
And
see
don't
you
forget to buy us a
Thursday.
cocktail.
Yeah, and don't forget, buy us a cocktail. And we will be
Yeah.
back Thursday, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time with another cocktail and another part of crime just for you. Have a
There
good
you
night,
go.
guys.
Bye.